Hello. Hello, hello. Hopefully you can hear and see me. This is the first time streaming on this channel, so fingers crossed, I guess. If you're new here, I should probably introduce myself. My name's Dan, also known as Dansky. I've been designing and making stuff for a very long time, 20 years or something. And we design things on the main channel, the normal Dansky channel. And I waffle on and people laugh at me, and that's pretty much what we do. We have a good time. And so if you've got any questions as we go through this, throw them at me, throw them directly at my face. But yes, so if you've never joined one of our streams before, well, hopefully you enjoy it. You know, it's full of randomness and absolute nonsense. But hopefully we have a good time. I'm going to have a good time regardless. I got coffee. I got design software. We're going to just see what happens. Hey, hey. Hey, hey. We can hear and see you. Excellent. That's fantastic, Susan. Thank you. That's a good start. We do usually have tech issues here, which I feel like people secretly love, just watching me panic. But managed to join 2 times in a row. Nice, Lena. Very good. Very good.
Star pupil.
Who's a star pupil?
The person that's done it twice in a row.
Oh, Lena, star pupil. Certified by Poppy. First live stream. Hey, hey. Welcome. Awesome. Hopefully you enjoy it. Paul wasn't even subscribed. Come on, Paul. Come on, Paul. Sorry, Paul. Paul was asking if I was going to wear green. I don't own any green clothing. I live in black t-shirts, but we have a green light. So hopefully that's suitable. We all look different. Is that what, the pictures, or what we're going to do here? That's a fantastic question. We are going to be doing some photo manipulation, and we're going to be creating this Stranger Things inspired thing that I made the other day. I'm coming from Adobe, so I've been Adobe for 20 years. I still use Adobe and teach Adobe, but Affinity is just too good to ignore, and it's been fun kind of diving into it. It's been tricky as well, because when you're coming from something you've used for so long, like Photoshop, suddenly being in they call it the Pixel Studio, and all of the stuff being sort of familiar, but kind of behaving differently as well. It's just getting used to those quirks and figuring out little workarounds, you know, like, oh, how do I do this thing that I'm so used to in Photoshop in Affinity? So I've been going through that process. I'm very pleased to say that I'm getting there now. It's getting a lot easier, and a lot of different tools. There's a lot of similar tools, just different icons, which look scary, or maybe they're called something slightly different. But yeah, once you do kind of start to figure out some of the differences, it starts to get a little bit easier. And a lot of tools and techniques do, especially techniques, actually do carry over. You know, you've got your adjustment layers and everything down here. Some of them are just named differently, or maybe there's a few more or a few less. So I'm still actively learning this. So if you see me doing something today and you're like, what are you doing? You total idiot. There's a thing over there. Use that. Please do let me know, because I'm still learning this, but I'm live. Yeah, I know. I think we'll do like a live on the main channel, and then we'll do one on the Affinity channel as well. So kind of gonna try and teach both bits of software now. Apparently that's what we're doing. So oh dear. Oh, you're very welcome. Yeah, I've got loads more tutorials. I've got a whole bunch that are recorded that needed editing, so they'll be going up. So the tutorials on this channel are very basic to start with, and we're just going to gradually build up. But today you're going to get to see the full kind of process. So we're going to try and recreate this thing on here, start to finish. And if you want to see what it looks like, that is the original image, and that's where it ends up. And I think you'll be surprised how easy this actually is when you kind of follow the process that I'm going to go through today. It's a very repeatable system. You'll probably get sick of me talking about it after a while, but I keep repeating it because it's one of those things that so many people doing this kind of photo manipulation stuff or compositing get wrong. So I need to drill it into everyone else's brain, because when I started using it, it just made life a lot easier. So what was I was going to do something just then. I've totally forgotten it. Oh yeah, if you would like to follow along. So these are the images, right? So we've got the room, we've got a lightning storm, some AI generated vines. Couldn't find any sort of good vines, so got some there. And then we got a broken window. So if you'd like to follow along, all of these are in the Discord. So go to dansky.com. I'll type it in the chat actually, because I'm lovely like that. There we go, dansky.com. And if you scroll down a bit, there's a community section. You can join our Discord server completely free, and the files are in there. So if you do watch this and you think, oh, I want to have a go at that, you crack on. And if you join the Discord and have a go, please show me what you make as well. I want to see it. Can you provide the before file to follow along with you? I don't think there's anything in here that I can't share, actually. It's mostly just particles and brushes. So, yeah, I mean, I could make the Affinity file available afterwards. Yeah, sure. Right. First up, this is a scary bit now. Go into a new document. Hopefully this goes well, but we'll see. In fact, I think this one here, I'll keep this as a reference because I was pretty happy. I spent quite a while fine-tuning this, so I'm going to drag this off screen. Yeah, there we go. Just so I can look at it and remind myself what everything looks like. But then... oh, blank document, no layers. And of course, we're in the Pixel Studio as well. So the first thing we've got to do is get the images in. So can I multi-drag all these in? I've not done this before. Yeah, okay, there we go. Nice and easy. All right. So the document size that I've set up, I'll just show you really quickly, is 3000 pixels by 4000 pixels. RGB color mode, so we get nice punchy colors. And first of all, we need to, well, let's set the images up and rearrange everything. So we're just gonna, let's turn off clip to canvas just so we can see everything. We don't need you. We don't need you. But we've got to set this thing up and we want to get this looking really good as well. So we'll make it fill the entire canvas. And I need to see the edge of the canvas now. So let's clip it. And I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to make one small change. Actually, no, I'm not. I think it looks straight, but not totally straight. Let's move it down a bit. No, I'm going to distort it slightly, just so the bottom's straight here. I'm very particular like that. So what we can do is if we grab the perspective tool, we can just go and pull this down a little bit. So you see that part here, this bottom line just runs totally horizontally. And I think the sides are pretty good as well. So it's kind of added that distortion to the main image, and that's fine. And then we can just go and move it back up. And I think we're going to position it there. Yeah, we'll get the window pretty much bang slap in the middle. I think that looks good. And next up, we need the new window image. So I need some music actually. Let's get some music on the go. Nice. Right, so the next thing is we need to put the window in place. Now, I don't really have a full window here, which is unfortunate. So we're going to scale this down. And maybe we'll stretch it. Will I get away with that? Quite possibly. So I've made this once already, but I'm trying to remember how I've made it. So we're going to size this up. Something like that. And we need to actually remove the existing window, first of all. So if we select this image here, we're going to add a layer mask. Press B for the brush tool. Now I got to check what brush I've got selected right now, because I have no idea. We'll go for this one. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And then using black, we're just going to, well, we're not going to do that. That's going to take forever. So we're going to switch to the selection brush tool. We'll give that a go. Make sure you select the layer as well. We should now be able to select, and hopefully we get a decent selection. Yeah, we'll just select all of this lovely window. We could have used the existing window, to be fair, but, you know, cutting that out would be nightmarish. Yeah, that looks okay, I think. I'm relatively happy with that. Select the layer mask. Black. And just very similar to Photoshop, we should be able to brush it away. There we go. We should have a nice big hole. There we go. Fantastic. Now it's a bit scrappy and rough around the edges, but it doesn't really matter because we have our window, which is pretty scrappy and rough around the edges anyway. But we do need to straighten this up. It's a little bit wonky at the minute. I mean, you don't have to, but I'm going to be very particular. So I'm just going to get some guides in there. And I'm going to distort this layer as well. So where's my window? We're going to go perspective warp. And I feel like that one needs to go up a little bit. Just to straighten it. This turn's snapping off. I don't think we're going to need too much snapping. And maybe let's pull this in. So we're just lining up to those guides. Yeah, you can see it's kind of a little bit off here. You don't have to do this, but it's just one of those things that bugs me personally. So if I've got like something that's perfectly straight in the design, like I want it to be straight. All right, let's hide the rulers and the guides. Yeah, there we go. That's all right, isn't it? Right, now we've got to add a layer mask to the window. So this is always the first part of the process. You just have to arrange the pieces like a chessboard. Arrange all the pieces. We're not moving any pieces yet. We're just literally setting everything up and getting the right image in the right place. All the retouching and compositing, that all comes later. Right. Let's brush away this. And image selection is pretty key as well, like really important to get good images. Picking the right images can really stack the deck in your favor. So you can see here with very little effort, whoops, I'm blending these images and they sit together pretty well actually. A little bit short here, but we can fix that. And at the top, yeah, that's not actually that bad. This one here, maybe we could stretch the image. I'll just pull you out. I think we might get away with that. And yeah, that looks pretty good. But we do need to cut out all these white bits. So how are we going to do this? I think, yeah, maybe here. For now, let's go and add a fill layer. So we'll add a fill layer and we'll just give it a solid color. So let's go with red. And yeah, there we go. We'll send it right to the back. Oh, okay, the window's already got transparency. Excellent. Okay, I totally forgot that. So what we would have to do otherwise is I would probably maybe grab the flood select tool, your magic wand tool basically, select the white and just again mask it out. But we've got a pretty, it's done a pretty good job actually. It doesn't matter that it's scrappy and rough around the edges here because it's broken glass and we can always clean that up later. Remember, we're just getting the pieces in place right now. He just trapped a bloke in his container. Oh no, Kerry. Oh dear. Ah, there you go. Hoffy gets it. Thanks for the perspective correction. Yeah. Maybe that's what it is. Some sort of creative OCD. Hey, Calby. Right, so there we go. That's not a bad start. We've got a storm as well. So the reason I added the solid color was just really to make sure that we've got a decent cutout here. So if we were going to cut that out, I would refine it. In fact, actually, you can see bits here. Actually, no, I'm going to refine it. Yeah, there's just a few little bits of background that got caught in the selection. So we'll bump up the hardness. Let's go for 90%, just so you get like a tiny bit of softness. And then, yeah, see, this is what confuses me in Affinity. I'm using black, the brush tool. I've got the mask selected, but it's not actually brushing anything. So if I click down here, does it do it? It's one thing I've not been able to figure out yet. So you can see it brushing into the mask, but it's not actually removing anything. So in that situation, what I've done is just add another mask. And then, no, it doesn't work. Oh, okay. Oh. Am I on the wrong image? There we go. That's why. Sorry, Affinity, that one's on me. Ah. Yeah, so it's part of the room graphic. There we go. There are little things like that that pop up, and it's just like a lot of the time I find that I've maybe got the wrong layer type selected or something, because it's a little bit different to like Illustrator and the Adobe stuff. You know, you've got all three in one here: Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign. So you have to work with different layer types. And it's just something that the other apps individually don't really do, because, you know, you're in Photoshop, you've got your pixel layers or whatever, and you're in Illustrator and everything's vector, and all of a sudden we're mixing them together. And yeah, okay, there we go. We're mixing them together and you have to manage different layer types. The different layer types are denoted by the picture as well. So these are all images. You can see the fill icon there. Pixel layers have like a transparency icon, so there's loads of little kind of quirks and things. Right, we'll just speed run around this. You can come back and do a lot of the refining stuff later on, but if it's something like this where I've clearly missed a bit of the background, may as well just nip it in the bud now, and then it's done. And for anyone interested, I'm doing this with a mouse at the minute, but I will be using a pen display a bit later on. Okay, that's part of the glass image. We'll go down here. Yeah, look at that, nice and straight. And you could go and pen tool this, but because of the nature of the composition, we don't need to. It's shattered smashed glass. We don't really need to be precise and perfect. In fact, a bit of imperfection, I think, gives a better result, because it just looks a bit rough and scrappy. And, you know, if I were cutting out a product, I'd use the pen tool, but something like this, I think freehand is actually a little bit better. Right, what about you? Now your glass. Maybe a little bit around here. Just legitimately shake my hand, so I get a much more jagged freehand result. I'm trying to like just jerk my hand around just so it doesn't look too perfect, you know. There we go, something like that. Here, do. Yeah, boom. Okay, that's pretty good. And then we've got our storm layer that we need to stick in there as well. So, did I actually... Oh no, I didn't end up using this. I think I've missed out an image. Hang on a second. I'll have to chuck this in the Discord later. Let me switch back. There's another image of a house. Is it this one? This one. Yes, I totally forgot an image. Hang on, I will chuck this in the Discord. Okay. Haunted house. There we go. Sorry, I just missed that one out. I will bundle that in. Right, what's it called? What's it called? Oh, my desktop is a mess. Haunted house. There we go. Right. If we go back to the main document, I should be able to grab this little nugget. Yeah, nice. There we go. Yeah, I think the storm one, I think that was the one I had through the whole process. And at the end, I was like, no, it needs to be a house. Right, let's shrink you down. Nice and small. Make sure it fills the whole thing up. I don't really want the moon there. So I could get rid of that. Call it Haunted House. And if we go on this layer here, what we're going to do is grab the in-painting tool and just try and brush away the moon. Sorry, moon, but you gotta go. Right, I'm going to close the other file down. Yeah, there we go. Sorry, I've got so many windows open at the minute. Can't find your Discord link. It's on Dansky.com. If you scroll down, you should have a section that says Courses, Coaching, Community. 1, 2, 3. Community is the one you want to click on. Right, in painting. Is he live? He's not reading the comments. I absolutely am. There's just some serious multitasking going on here. Right, I guess Storm, we can get rid of you, actually. And vines. Right, vines. So these were kind of added more to the room. Yeah. And they turned out okay. It wasn't the best result I was hoping for. I'm going to try the select subject feature. This is behind the Canva Pro paywall. Unfortunately, it's one of those features that I'm giving out the Pro subscription thing a go. I think it's like a 30-day free trial. But in Photoshop, I use select subject a lot in my workflow. So Is it any good though? Let's have a look. Oh dang, that is good. Oh man, that is good. I'll take that. Because Photoshop's got really good lately in like the last 6 months, and I was hoping that the Affinity one was at least as good as that, at least close to as good as that. But so far, it is good. It is really good. And now I'm going to do the same again. We're going to do perspective tool, and we're just going to pin this to the corners of the room. And we're going to try and make this look as if vines are kind of coming across the ground. Now it's a little bit flat. And if I spent a bit longer generating different images, we could shade it and make it less like that. But because it's going to be quite dark everywhere, I think we might get away with it. You know, they're quite hard to see in the original design. So I think, yeah, we'll do that. And we're going to do it on the walls as well. So we've got, what do we got? Vines, floor. Duplicate that. And we're just gonna, I mean, I probably could actually just get away with using the same mesh warp, but I can go and edit it, so I'm probably not going to need to be fair. But you can do it if you want. And so we'll call that one vines left. Duplicate again. And, oh, how do I flip in this workspace? There we go. See, I didn't even know that. It just makes everything so easy to use. We're going to flip it vertically as well, because this will just create a bit more randomness. I don't want it to look too symmetrical, so maybe these vines, will pin them to the floor and pull these ones up a little bit. There we go. And that's it. That is the first part of the process, and one of the 4 most fundamental parts is the right images, lighting. You know, you want images, you want to pick images where the lighting matches the direction, or you flip the image so it matches. If you've got a subject with light coming from one side and the background, the light's coming from the other, it's not going to make sense. When someone looks at it, they'll be able to see that something just looks off. Photo manipulation. Nothing on top. I'm going to probably leave the top. We could just add more vines, but that is pretty much step 1. Step 2 is going to be balancing the exposure. So the way to do this is we're going to add a HSL adjustment layer. This is basically hue saturation if you're coming from Photoshop. Let's bring it up here. And we just want to strip out all the color. And we'll call this exposure checker, and this will stay there for the entire process. Every time we make changes to lighting, add effects, fog, and all this stuff we'll do later on, you want to keep this layer here so you can turn it off and on and just check that your exposure's balanced. What balancing the exposure means is you're balancing the dark areas and the midtones and the lighter areas between different images. So the shadows, the darker areas are obviously like your blacks of the house, the vines. Your midtones are going to be all these sort of medium grays around the whole room. In the sky, the graveyard, And then your highlights are going to be the brightest parts. So sort of around here, we've got some bright spots, the sky. And you need to balance these between the different images. This is probably one of the most important steps. And it's something that a lot of people do get wrong. But if you get this wrong, there's no amount of retouching that's going to fix it. So if you click the little down arrow on a perspective layer, you can select the underlying image and move it along that perspective plane. Ooh. Where's the down arrow? So if I click this one, sorry, I'm not entirely sure what you mean. You can select the underlying image and move it along that plane. That sounds really cool. It's moving the image though. I'm not sure how to move it along the plane though. See, I got lots of stuff to learn. Oh, okay. Oh, you clever little cupcake. I see. So yeah, if you move it out, right. But then you could create like another clipping mask or another group, right? So then everything in the group affects, runs on that path. That's cool. I like that. Thank you. Yeah, the more you know. I did it once before. Very cool. Thank you. Right. So I think to balance all of this stuff is not actually too bad. It really does depend on the images you've got. I think here I'm going to balance to the main image. So you've got to kind of pick which image you like the exposure of and balance to that. So I like the main image here, the room. So these vines down the bottom, you can see that they're just way too dark. They're super dark and they don't really match this image in terms of they're like very, very black. This is very, very grey. So what we're going to do is just grab the exposure adjustment layer. And I love this because it's just a slider, so it's really easy to use. We can just drag it onto the vines thumbnail and then it's now kind of clipped to that. And we can bring it up. Oh, okay, right. No, so exposure can be really good sometimes, but because it only has one slider, it's not always ideal. So instead, I think for this one, you can use levels or curves. I'm going to use curves. Curves is a lot more powerful because you can see we get a whole curves graph. And if I bring this up here, I should be able to brighten these up a little bit. We don't want to go too much, but I could definitely bring them up a bit more. And maybe just push up some of the highlights. So we're just lifting the blacks here, or the shadows, to make it a bit lighter. So if I turn it off and on, you can see the difference. And I think that's all right, actually. That's not too bad. So now I'm pretty sure I can Alt Option and drag to duplicate this. Yes, there we go. So let's do that onto the other vines. Saves us time, right? We're not doing lighting and shadows at the minute. Remember, we're just we're setting the chessboard still. You know, we're just making sure that all the exposure of the different images is balanced on a level playing field before we start adding all the effects and compositing everything. What about this windowsill? That might be all right. I could make it a pinch brighter. So what do we got? Window. And room. So if we go into window here and let's add, well, we'll do another curves adjustment layer. Drag it inside and just lift this ever so slightly. So you can see it's a pretty subtle difference just before and after, but it's something that we want to get right. We are going to actually probably darken that later and make the whole thing look silhouetted because there'll be light coming through, but right now we're just balancing the exposure between everything. And that is number 2. That is the number 2 most important thing. So number 1. Yeah, thank you, Zakir. A few more days. Number 1 is just getting the pieces in place, picking the images and building the scene, if you like. At least most of it. Like, that's going to form the basis of your idea. Number 2, balancing your exposure. Can you add shadows and light? We will be doing some of that, yeah, but we don't do that yet. That's number 4. That's the 4th and probably one of the final most important things. I should call this like a 4-step process or something. Okay, so composition, balanced exposure. Honestly, you're going to get sick of me saying this. So let's turn that off now. The reason we do this in black and white is because trying to balance your exposure with color in the mix just makes it harder. So by doing that and stripping out the color, it makes it easy to balance the exposure without letting color interfere. In terms of balancing color, well, this is a bit of a weird image, really, because we're going to be this is very, very stylized. So it's very kind of dark blues and purples, almost black, with a red punchiness outside. So I don't think there's a lot we need to do here, but yeah, oh, it's an interesting one. Normally you would like, let's say you've got a cool image and a warm image. You'd need to balance the colors so they kind of either both look cool or both look warm. But here it's a bit of a weird one because we've got an interior and an exterior. So logically these could be totally different because one's indoors and one's outdoors. They're not actually in the same space. But I'll show you what the process would look like anyway. So if I wanted to balance the outdoors to the indoor room, we could add a color balance adjustment layer to the house and clip it. And then we can adjust the color in the shadows, midtones, and highlights. So if we pick the shadows, for example, it's a very bluey image in the background. So we could warm it up. We could add a bit more red and a bit more... Ooh, you don't want to go too heavy with these. But you could see we can add a bit more red into it. And then if we go into the highlights, which is kind of like the sky, could push it a bit more yellow. Yeah, you don't want to, obviously you could do something like that, but you can sort of ruin it a little bit. So, and honestly, another way of using this panel, if you're really not sure what this is doing, then just adjust the sliders until you get something you like. But effectively, yeah, you can see here what we're doing is we're changing the color of the darkest areas, the medium, middlest areas, and the lightest areas. That's a simplified way of putting it. So if we have like a lot of sort of midtones in this, a lot of gray, we can make all of that a bit more blue, or we can make it more red. And these sliders let you push it, you know, closer or further away from a particular color. So that looks pretty good. Like I say, it doesn't really make a difference for this because we're going to add a gradient map in a minute. But if I show you the before and the after, you can see if I was going for something a bit more realistic rather than like hyper stylized, then that would be a good example of balancing the color between those images. Does that make sense? Yeah, sure. So when it comes to balancing the exposure, the way I typically do it is, you know, you've got lots of images in your scene, or which image do you balance to? So you have to kind of pick a, let's just call it like a master image or something. So the master image, you leave the exposure exactly as it is, or you change it first, so you get that locked in. So in this example, my room, that's going to be my master image. Everything else that I'm adding into this scene, I have to adjust the exposure to match the master image, which in this case is the room. Does that make sense? Yeah. So usually when it comes to picking one, it can be an image that you like the exposure of, or what is often the case with a lot of my work is it's the most prominent image. So when we did our design competition recently, I used the outdoors landscape for like the whole background, and that took up pretty much the entire scene. So that became the image, the master image that I would balance everything to. So as I started chucking in pumpkins and skulls and castles and all that rubbish into the scene, I was then going, okay, does this match the landscape? Because that's just the most prominent aspect of the composition. Hopefully that makes sense. Right, so there we go. That's the third most important thing. So number one, set your scene up, pick your images, cut them out, get them in, place everything. Not, it doesn't have to be final, but get it as, you know, as good as possible. Get everything set up so you're like, yep, this is the way I want to go with this. Then balance your exposure, then balance your color. And the fourth most important thing is adding shadows and highlights. Now this gets a bit weird here because to add shadows and highlights in Affinities, you can do it the same as Photoshop, but there is a filter that Photoshop doesn't have, or at least it doesn't work as beautifully as this, which is a lighting filter. And this scene, even though it's stylized, it's very much like it's going to be at night. It's going to be dark. So first of all, we want to make this a more nighttime scene. So yeah, whereas what you could normally do is go and brush in shadows and do that. Actually, using the nighttime filters we're going to use in a minute and the lighting filters, we can actually get the same result. So yeah, every project's a little bit different, and this one is sort of an exception. Hey, Afif, how's it going, man? So how are we going to do this, Dan? So we want... Okay, right, we're going to have to do this right. So the stuff outside, that's separate. So I'm going to group together. Yeah, there we go. So we'll call this room. Yeah, there we go. So this nighttime filter that I'm about to create, or these adjustments, sorry, I only want them to apply to the room, the window, the vines, everything indoors. Anything outdoors like the house, that I do not want that included. So we'll click the topmost layer. And there's so many different ways you can make day into night. One of the easiest ways is probably to go recolor. This is effectively your hue saturation colorize option, but it's split into a separate adjustment layer in Affinity. So we're going to pick a nice dark blue. And we're done. Just kidding, that is awful. Let's desaturate it. So at nighttime, you know, things would be a bit more blue. Not that kind of blue. Just a bit more subdued. Can we grab this? Yeah, you could do this. Pull some blue back. Actually, we might do that. I was going to use curves to darken it, but actually with the lightness slider might do an okay job here. And we can adjust the amount of blue. So yeah, I think maybe that looks pretty good. Actually, we might get away with that. Now, if it's too blue and you do want like a little bit of color to come through the stuff in your scene, let's say you've got I don't know, a giant yellow rubber duck and you want a bit of yellow to come through, you can always drop the opacity ever so slightly. So you see here, so you could kind of go for something like that. So you just get a little bit of color from the image coming through, which I think I'm going to do actually. So we'll go for 75 and then we'll use an exposure adjustment layer just to go a bit darker. There we go. That's cool. So we've still got some of the color coming through, 25% of the color coming through into the image. Yes, we have layer masks. I've actually got a video on layer masks on this channel. Bum, 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 bum. Right. So we've got our nighttime effect. Let's try something actually. I'll turn that off for a second and I want to try this lighting filter because this is something that's new to me, but as soon as I started using it, it was like, wow. So what we can do is actually pull this around. We can adjust, we can bump the ambience up. I'm still trying to figure this one out. Yeah, so this lets you move it around. So you can see here I can adjust the lighting in the room. Or I could change the type to point light. So it's just blasting light out everywhere. Which might make a bit more sense for this actually. How do I make it smaller? Ah, there we go. And because I'm going to have it red outside, again, very Stranger Things inspired. Let's try changing the color. Ah, yeah, it's so cool. Oh, I love it. Yeah. Oh, it's so fun. There's another one as well, directional. That's probably less relevant, but I think spot might be the way to go. So I think I want to have red light coming in through the window and then blasting down over the floor. So we can bring this in here, control how wide or narrow the spotlight is. Honestly, if you are new to Affinity from Photoshop, you're going to love this. It's flipping brilliant. So we're going to adjust the width. What's this one here? Oh yeah, this one, the elevation, the azimuth, whatever that is. So yeah, you can adjust the elevation of the light. So we could have it there and bring it in a bit. Oh, it's so flipping good. Yeah, I love this. And then again, we can adjust various properties. So diffusion, I want it nice and soft. Specular, let's crank that up. That can be sort of a little bit how reflective the surface is. Shininess, you can see these have a pretty big difference. So we'll keep it quite subtle for now. And texture, ooh, what do you do? Whoa. Not quite what I'm looking for. I've not tried using a bump map, but I think this is kind of like a displacement map. You have bump maps in 3D software. So let's have a look. Yeah, so see, this is why this one's a bit of a weird one. So normally, like, I would use the exposure adjustment layer to do the darkening and the shadows. But once you add a light source into your image, you can see I've added the red, but it darkens everything naturally. So yeah, it's such a cool feature. I used it on the thumbnail for this stream. So I've got a photo of me that's quite evenly lit. And then because there's the green flames behind me, I like add the green light and point it at one side of my head. So it's a fun adjustment layer. In fact, there is actually one down here that I've not even touched yet, shadows and highlights. So we'll that's just a bunch of sliders, but I'm sure we'll come back to that. And now what I can do actually is I can go in here and I could recolor this a bit more. So maybe we do make it a bit bluer, because it's going to be a bit more Stranger Thingsy. Lighten it up a bit, and then I need to go and change that lighting and just make it a bit more red, just so it's not as pink. So that's kind of where it started out. I'll tell you what, actually, there is something else we can do. Yeah, let's darken this one a bit more. So when working on the shadows and highlights in a scene, you want to think about it from a realistic point of view. If you're going for something that you want to make logical sense, you know, there's a house outside, it's going to be very red and lightning-y, lights coming in. If light's coming in, where's the shadow going to be? So we're going to add an empty layer mask, B for the brush tool. And we're going to use white. Let's grab a nice soft brush. Yeah, 25% on the flow is good. If the light's streaming in here, this kind of area down here is going to be very dark. So what we can do is we can go and brush in some shadows down there, underneath as well. That's going to be especially dark. And we can just brush this in. Now I'm doing this with a mouse, and it's much easier with a pen display. But we can turn it off and on. And then once you've got it in the right place, just maybe adjust the exposure and dial it back a bit. So we're just accounting for that light that is going to be blasting through the windows by darkening other parts of the image. Oh, thanks, Nick. Yeah. Right, I'm going to change the music a second. Yeah, this was the first proper bit of photo manipulation I did in Affinity, and I got to be honest, I was quite surprised with how it turned out. Not because I can't do it, just because it was using the tools and features for the first time, and it was just kind of like, oh, actually, a lot of this stuff translates from Photoshop quite nicely. All right, where's my lighting? Let's turn that back on. Yeah, there we go. Right. Now I think it makes sense to... We've done the shadows. We'll come back to the highlights because they will be dictated by the light source. So we're going to have the light source outside the window, but it's going to be very red and lightning-y. So we may as well do that first before we start adding in our highlights. So we'll pick the house, go to adjustments, and we're going to add a gradient map. And what this does is it lets us map specific colors onto an image. So as you can see, we've got RGB mapped. That's awful. So let's delete that. That's a bit closer, but we're going to make it a very dark blue. Something like that. There we go. And then for the red, yeah, I think that looks pretty good. And you can see we've mapped the color to that, and we're going to add some lightning and stuff. And I think that, yeah, bar the highlights, that is effectively the main 4 steps that you have to get right when doing this sort of stuff. So composing the image with the scenes, cutting everything out and putting it in place, balance the exposure, balance the color, and then shadows and highlights. But we'll do highlights in a sec. And usually those 4 steps can be pretty repeatable in that order when doing any project that I work on like this. So I'm going to get that printed on a t-shirt. Yep, all that is to come. Shadows of windows on the ground and everything. That none of that happens first. All of that is later. In fact, we could even do it next. All right, so let's... And again, as we go through this, we can just turn our exposure checker on and back off to check how things are looking. Just to check they're still balanced. Right, so if we were going to do the shadow in the room, we could draw it. There's so many different ways. But seeing as we have the window, we may as well use it. So we'll duplicate it, drag it underneath, and we'll call it window shadow. We will flip it vertically and drag it down. And what we're going to do is, first of all, let's get rid of the curves adjustment. And, oh, we've got a perspective on there. Perfect. We're just going to grab that and we're just going to adjust it to match the perspective of the room. So again, we're thinking in like realistic terms. Light's coming in here and it's just blasting out. And window shadow. So at the moment we've got the room lighting on top. What happens if I move that above? Ooh, do I put the shadow above or below? We'll try it below, but we might need to move it out or to the top of the group. Right, what we're going to do now. What we're going to do, Dan? We're going to blur it, but we want to gradually blur it. So it's going to be sharper up this end because it's going to be closer to the window that's casting the shadow. And down here, it's going to be super, super blurry. So in fact, let's just turn off the vines for now so we can kind of get the shadow right. So to do this, we can add a live filter called Flippin' heck, there's a lot. My goodness. Depth of field. This is basically your tilt shift and your field iris blurs and all that in Photoshop. And we're going to do a tilt shift. Right, let's crank the radius all the way up. So there you go. Okay, so this first line here, that's going to be where it starts at 0 blur. And this bottom line, that bottom line is going to be 51.8 pixels blur. And if we crank it up, you can see, oh, it's so responsive. So we're going to try and make this realistic. So if we pull this a bit up, you can see the blur moves. So it's kind of soft there. That looks pretty good. I'm okay with that. I love the fact we've got the live filters, so I can go back in here, and if I want to pull this one out a little bit, just to manually correct it, just so it sits symmetrically. Now, if I turn my vines on, how does it look? Not great, because the shadow is under the vines, which doesn't make sense because it would be on top of them. So again, we're thinking about everything logically. So let's start by putting it... whoops. What have we done? Let's move the whole layer up there. Yeah, that might be enough. Something else we're also going to do is add a vignette to the entire scene as well. So we're going to darken the edges. How do we do that? Should we add it in here, I think? So we'll go to... where should we go? Exposure. Yeah, see, that kind of makes it a little bit murky. So what you could do is add a layer mask, grab the fill tool, go for, no, not linear, sorry, radial. Add a black to white gradient. Is this going to work? Reverse it round. Yeah, there we go. So effectively what we're doing is we're just darkening the edges of the whole scene. I think I'm actually going to go in there manually as well and just brush away some of this area. Just because I don't want to affect the light. I still want that light coming through. So we have a vignette for everything else, but do you see what I mean? So we go from that to that, just so it concentrates the light a bit more. I've not used Photop, but yes, even without using it, I would suggest learning Affinity because it's free. And it's amazing. Like, a lot of people say, like, is it good? You know, should you give it a go, whatever. I've been using Adobe for 20 years. And it's great software, but all of this rolled into one, and it's free forever, apparently. Like, I can't remember the last time I was so excited about a bit of software. If it wasn't good, I wouldn't be learning it. I wouldn't be making another channel about it. Put it that way. And I'm Adobe through and through for the last 20 years. So, you know, that's yeah, that's my 2 cents on it. Right. Okay. I'm going to do a bit more lighting work manually there. So we've got the lighting effect, which is nice. You can see what an insane difference that makes. We could actually play around with blending modes to see if we can get... Nope, forget that. Forget I said that. We could drop the opacity a bit, but nah, actually that looks rubbish. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to build up this light streaking in through the window. So how can I do this? Can I add a fill layer? Where are you? New fill layer. And let's go for the same sort of, like, it's almost like a pinkish red. And we'll add an empty mask. B for the brush tool. And can I brush in? Yeah, there we go. Obviously, we don't want to do that. We can drop the hardness down a bit. And I'm going to just try and freehand this a little bit. We'll see how it goes. And we're just going to have a bit... This might look rubbish, but we'll see. And then if we change the blending mode, or what we can do, let's try... Oh, whoops, hang on. Ah, don't change the blending mode of the mask. Silly Dan. Make sure you pick the layer. Yeah. Maybe screen. Now, your blend if options are in the cog up here. So if you go to blending options and blend if. Yeah, we will do something kind of like God rays or light rays. This is more like a secondary light to bolster the light a little bit. So yeah, here's your blend if stuff. Let's put it up there. And we can sort of blend these through. So just a little bit. And oh, which blending mode? So we're going to go really subtle and just bring it up. So I think actually maybe 40%. So this is the difference it makes. Just a little bit of oomph. Oh, cool, man. Hey, Reese. Yeah, if you want to join the Discord, I'll show you. In fact, I'll grab the link, actually. I'll grab the link. Oh, I've still got the monster ski imagery. Oops. I need to take that down. There you go. The images are in there if you're in the Discord in the main chat. Okay, right. It's going well so far. I'm feeling good. Oh, and don't rush this as well. Doing any photo manipulation, if you try and rush to get quick wins, it just... No, don't do it. I know it's tempting. And don't use blending modes for compositing when it's combining images together. Like, remember the 4-step process at the beginning? We didn't use any blending modes in that. Blending modes will just blend and merge with transparency and it will look weird. Okay, right. We are going to add... We're going to add some more light, actually. So let's duplicate this. Delete the mask. Bring this back up. And again, we're just going to add a blank layer mask. Bring the flow value really low here. And we're just going to just gently brush around the window. Make the brush bigger. Now that looks awful because it's affecting the background. Why are you affecting the image? Oh, is it because it's a fill layer? Because even though it's in a folder, Let's try something actually. Let's just fill a layer with like a red and then drop the mask on there. No, okay. I've probably just done something wrong. Yeah, why is it? It's in the group. Why is it affecting the whole thing? I feel like I'm being really dense. I mean, what we can do is we could... If we make a selection of the window, we could just go and manually try and remove this from the mask. No, that's not what I want, actually. No, I need to get rid of... I only want to affect the walls. Yeah. Let's duplicate it. I feel like I'm doing something really stupid. Yeah, so why is that only affecting everything else? Hmm. Oh, I wonder if it's this. No, probably not, is it? We can reset those back anyway. Whoops. Zzz. What have you done, Dan? So we've got two fills. Why are they affecting the gaps in the windows? I mean, we could. Maybe this one here. We could just go through and remove it. That's probably the quickest and easiest way rather than me trying to figure out what silliness I've done. There we go. So it's only meant to be subtle anyway, so now we can just go and drop this down. See the difference there? It's just a bit of glow around the edge. Super subtle, like nothing to write home about, as they say. I'm just trying to bolster the lightning a bit more. Lightning? Lighting. Nice. Now also, the window frame here and all this glass, that is going to be, because the light outside coming in is red and bright, this is going to be silhouetted, but there's going to be like an element of it that's just going to be kind of blown out with the light. So if we... Where's the window? There you go. We're going to add, inside the window, we're going to add a recolor. We're going to change it to a sort of reddish pink color. Why are you blue? Right, so I need that to be red. Why are you not red?
Ding dong.
Someone is at the front door.
Oh, I feel like there's another adjustment layer or something causing problems. Room. Do I need to move the window out? I don't know. Let's try moving that out the group, outside the room group. Yeah, I think that's what I got to do. So we'll keep the shadow in there. It gets a bit complicated. But at least now, anything inside the room isn't going to necessarily affect the window in the same way. So now I can have some sort of reddish pink color. Yeah, that's what I want. That's what I want. Yeah. Kind of blowing it out. And then I'll drop the opacity. Just so it's not like that. You know, the glass as well would be red. You'd have the light kind of showing through it. So something like this does make a bit more sense. And let's get the vines back on as well. There we go. Someone else said about some fog as well. I think this, any fog and like crazy lighting effects I would have in their own folder. So we'll call it glow effects. Just because you want your lighting to be on top. You don't want shadow layers like affecting the light. Right, let's go and add a new fill layer. Same red, which is nice. Empty mask. And brushes. Now, I get pretty much all of these cool brushes from Envato. Cannot recommend them enough. Just amazing. So we're going to use some mist brushes. And you can just stamp in mist like that. That's an absolute total secret weapon. Boom. There we go. I think we're going to dial that down. So you can see the mist sort of just supports the lighting we've already added. We're going to duplicate it and delete the mask and do another one. And I think maybe this one. Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, like a mist straight through the scene. Let's do there. That's cool. And the mist would show up more in the light. So again, we're thinking about it realistically. So we can add another layer mask. And then let's go back to our soft brush. And we're just going to very carefully just brush away the edges. That's not careful, Dan. Let's try that again. I'm just going to do it on both sides so we get a little bit more light, a bit more mist, sorry, where the light is in the middle. And maybe that bottom one's a little bit strong. We'll dial that down loads, actually. Just make sure you adjust the layer, not the mask. I'll keep doing that. So that's going to be nice and subtle, and then the fog in the middle will be a bit more, but we'll still drop the opacity a little bit. Yeah, 69. There we go. I'm not 5. So you can see that we're just gradually building things up slowly, one step at a time. Oh, you're welcome. Hopefully this is helpful. Anyway. Yeah, there's loads of free brushes. Brush Easy, I think, is a good one for free brushes. But yeah, the brush packs in Envato, these ones are just insane. It's like 50 lightning and 22 this and something else that. It's just, they're so good. There's like loads of them. I could probably install all of my brushes and crash Affinity with like thousands and thousands of brushes. There's just so many. I just want to download everything. Yeah, this is looking pretty good. Right. Someone did say about light rays. So let's duplicate this again. Let's get rid of these masks. We'll start fresh. Let's put some different music on now. Ooh, pendulum. Right. This is number 3. Let's pop these in the folder, actually. That would help, wouldn't it? Also, I can't recommend this enough. If you're coming from Photoshop and you find it a bit of a headache with the layer and the groups all having thumbnail images, I cannot recommend this setting enough. This one. You see groups and layers look exactly the same there. And to me, coming from Photoshop, I find seeing a folder icon much easier to distinguish between groups and layers. So when I turned that on, I got very excited because it was like, aha, I can make sense of it all now. Should the window shadow be at the ceiling too? It probably should, actually, yeah. But, you know. What was I going to do? Oh, yeah. Light rays. Right. Come on, Dan. Where are they? Sunburst? Yeah. Oof. Have I got any... We could use this. It's not... I wouldn't say it's exactly what I'm looking for, but if we do that and we'll stamp it in, what we could try and do is we could try and blur this. So let's add a nothing there. Let's go now to Gaussian blur. So we can't, this is way too hard, but we don't want it to just be a smush. Just enough where you can distinguish some sort of rays really subtly. And then again, we're just going to dial that down. Oh, not the effect. Okay, make sure you click the whole layer. Yeah. See, obviously way too much. We'll do a screen or an ad. They're usually pretty good. And let's just remove it from the middle. And if you have done like one of my Photoshop courses or anything, a lot of these techniques do translate over. So if you're learning Photoshop and you're already kind of invested in that, but you're thinking of giving Affinity a go, a lot of this stuff does translate over. It's just like I say, the little quirks and things that are different. Once you figure that out, you'll be away. Right, obviously this is a weird hard edge we got to get rid of. Yeah, so some of these, I think we've got to rebalance some of these. Make some a bit more subtle. others less so. That's not too bad for now. Let's add some lightning while we're here. So we're going to go to our haunted house. And let's add a new pixel layer with white as the color. We'll go to brush. Got some lightning brushes here. Find a good one. Maybe this one. I'm just going to stamp it in. Maybe a couple times just to beef it up. Lightning. And we can just resize that. Make it nice and small and stick it up there behind the house. Could even bring the house down a bit, actually, just so we can get a bit more of the lightning in the shot. And why does the lightning look awful? Let's try that again. Oh my goodness, that looks horrific. Why is the lightning so terrible? Right, we need to somehow make the lightning red. Oh, there we go. Sorry, I switched into pixel mode somehow. There we go. Okay, that looks a bit better now. Right, how are we going to make it red, 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 red? Let's try a recolor. Just on the lightning, though. And bring up the lightness. Is that going to do anything? Oh, no, there we go. Drop it down. Adjust the color. Yeah, so we've got to make it make sense. Max saturation. There we go. That's cool. And then we could duplicate it again. Maybe blend it in. Yeah, so sometimes by duplicating the layer, you can just kind of beef it up a little bit. I don't know if it needs it here, though. I think it needs a bit more, like, punchiness. Let's try a curves adjustment layer. Just on the lightning, though. Does make it a little bit more pinky, which we can correct there. Oh, that's not too bad. That's not too bad. Right, something else that we're going to do is... those vines on the floor don't look great. They're flat. I'm just wondering if there's a way I could just cheat them looking a bit better. I'm going to try something. Floor vines. Let's select them. Effects. Let's see if we can add an outer shadow. Oh, we might be able to do that actually. This might actually work. Just to create like a little bit more of a three-dimensional feel. We're sort of cheating it a little bit. So before... Oh, actually, no, I can't do it before and after that easily. Is there a way to disable all effects? Like, click on the effects thing and just turn them off for like a second? I don't know if there is or not. I think there's a way you can customize the workspace to add an effects toggle, but... I might move them a bit more out the shot, actually, just so they're less prominent. Oh yeah, we're going to do a bit more of that. We need like a bit more of a defined ray coming through the window. We're going to add some particles as well. Let's... we'll do a new folder for those. Particles. Have I got any particles? Dust. Ooh, these could be quite good. Yeah, there we go. Oh, just stamp in a few particles, rotate the brush around. Make it a little bit smaller. Particles usually show around where light is as well, so having the particles where the window is does kind of make sense. So we've got some light particles, and then we'll do another layer. But these particles are going to be a bit more reddish. And could pick... Oh, these are cool. Got some like bigger particles. Ah, yeah, wow. Love these. Sometimes it is just a case of playing around with different effects. And stamp that in. And then again, just like before, we're just going to dial these down a bit. We could play around with blending modes if you want to blend some of these in, or just drop the opacity, just so the particles are like a little bit more subtle. Might have gone quite heavy with those ones actually, so we could add a layer mask. And let's try and remove some of those with a basic brush. There we go. I just whiz around and just thin out some of those particles. So there we go. Let's call that particles 1 and particles 2. So if we turn them both off, you can see no particles, some particles. So we've got some a bit closer and blurred out, some a bit further away. You can play around with all this sort of stuff. I don't like the vine shadows. I'm going to turn those off. I think they look a bit rubbish. Maybe I darken the vines. Let's have a... Let's go into the curves. Yeah, maybe a bit more like that. Oh yeah, this is like a AI help thing. So if you do get stuck, you've got this AI Ask Ritson that you can get help. Right, this is looking pretty good, actually. Something else we do need to add is... Oh, crikey! I have been reborn! Oh, I'm no longer Dansky the orange. I'm Dansky the green. Anyway, window. Where's my main window? There we go. Let's add some highlights. I might do this without the pen display, actually. I would do a lot of this on the pen display normally, but I think it'd be a bit easier to follow my cursor around if I'm not doing it all erratically. Right. In this window layer, group, clipping thing, we'll do recolor. We'll blast it up. Something like that. Add a blank layer mask. Let's do it on 97. So we kind of want to add some highlights along this edge here. That's clearly way too thin. Thick, rather. We want these to be real subtle. You can see here, just by doing something like this, and then behind the glass, maybe just make it a bit more less prominent. So the highlights are kind of more along the edge there. So that's just one. Have a look at it. You see the difference? These are quite tricky, but they will make your everything just flipping pop. Yeah, I said it. Pop. But it will, like seriously. It's amazing. And we could just apply these in a few different places. We're just going to smash through these now. I'm just applying these recklessly at the minute. We'll come back and clean them up. It's one of the ways when you're using a mouse, I would just recommend applying your highlights like this, way too thick, and then go back and clean them up after. Because you can't really control pen pressure or anything. So it's a bit trickier. Yeah. Oh, around the edge. So around the edge. Oh, that's on the windowsill. All right, we'll do that in a sec. Yeah, right. Let's go through. Brush away. Nice. And then just get rid. Very carefully get rid where the glass areas are. This does take practice as well. I know I might be making this look easier than it is. It's actually really hard. In fact, shadows and highlighting. Shadows and highlights are probably the hardest part of the early stage. All right, let's go. Nice. Bush. Right. Yeah, we're just literally speed running this at the minute. Sometimes you can actually just be quite lazy with this, but you can get a pretty decent result. But if possible, it's always good to try and make this sort of stuff follow like a sense of logic. Like, where's the light coming from? Where's it going to hit? Where's it going to cast a highlight or a reflection? Like, I wouldn't normally do it this quickly, but we're speed running it at the moment. Because the most important part of this entire process, the bit that takes it from like, this looks cool, to flipping heck, yes, I am a ninja, is the like refining stage. So in my Photoshop course where I teach this in the masterclass, there's specifically for both of the projects, there's a section that is called refining. And that's because it's just refining everything you've done over and over meticulously. So if I just kind of turn this layer off and on, before, no highlights, after, we've got some highlights. We could double the layer, duplicate it to beef that up, but that's fine for now. But then we did want to add some for the windowsill as well, and you could add some for the edge, which would look pretty good. Okay, so we're going to go... I'm using a mouse, actually. I was going to use the pen display because it just makes this whole process easier and quicker, but I know not everyone's going to have a pen display or want to use one. There you are. And also, it's a bit easier to follow my cursor on a pen display. It's a bit like, ugh. So we're just going to add some of these down the edge. No, that's right. So lighting effects. Remember, we want to add these up here. Yeah, so we can see everything. And hopefully, because I straightened everything out, I should be able to just do this. Oops, got some wonky ones in there. Actually, I'm going to try a new, slightly different technique here in a minute. And we would need to be careful here, but I'm just going to do this quickly. Now I'm just brushing this onto a pixel layer. Like this. And I could actually go and grab, if I can find it, the blur tool. Where are you hiding? I reckon you're under there. No. Oh, where are you, blur tool? Where's the flipping blur tool? Are you there? No. There you are, you cheeky sausage. I found you. Yeah, let's go and blur this. Blur, lots of blur. Blur. Super blur. Yeah. And then we'll just... Oops. Oh, so annoying. This is what gets really annoying, is I can't figure out, like, the mask is selected. I've got black selected, but it doesn't let me brush away anything. It's little things like this that just trip me up. Like, I don't know why. I've got the mask selected. Why can't I brush away? Let's add them. So annoying. I don't understand. Why is... If I invert the mask, why is it not brushing back in? What does this lightning layer mean? I don't know what the lightning symbol means. Yeah, I don't understand, like, why it's not letting me... Oh, I'm so stupid. No, sorry. Affinity 2, Dan 1. You need the paintbrush selected. You bloody idiot, Dan. Sorry. Oh, be quiet. You flipping monkey, Dan. Oh, there we go. Oh, yeah. Obviously, I'm the problem. Flipping goose. There's me trying to blame Affinity, and it was me all along. There we go. So we're just brushing away some of these bits here, so it's kind of more localized to the edge. Yeah. Take out a little bit of the punchiness. This bottom one, keep the top one a bit more prominent. Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty quick and lazy job, but if I just turn it off and on, you see the difference it makes? It makes such a difference. Wow. And that was me doing it pretty sloppily as well. Windowsill, is that how you spell it? Highlights. That's where highlights can really shine. Sorry. Terrible pun. Right, we do need a little bit more of like a defined thingy-mabobby-doodah. So we're gonna sample the color again. Let's use the freehand selection tool. So we're gonna hold command or control. Yeah, there we go. And we can do a freehand selection. So we're gonna kind of have some lighting here. Oof, that's not exactly symmetrical, is it, Dan? Oh dear. It's fine. It'll do. Right. Once again, we're going to grab the depth of field filter. Change it to tilt shift so it runs in a direction. Blur it up. Can we go beyond 100? Yes, we can. Huh. Take that, Affinity. We're going to start off pretty light here, and we want this to blur out pretty, I'm going to say pretty a lot then. Very, very much. And something like that. Let's pull it off the edge of the canvas. So yeah. Maybe stretch it up a bit. Yeah, that's cool. Let's change the blending mode. Yep, better. Still looks awful though, so I think we might have to... so if we want to do blend if, we can't do it with a live filter, it doesn't work. So we're going to have to... Let's duplicate it in case I screw it up, and then we need to rasterize. So we lose our lovely blur effect thing, but we can now go and let some of the background blend through, like this. Oh, that looks flipping good. That looks so much better. What a difference, eh? Look at that. So we're just reinforcing it with some slightly harder edges, and we could actually add a layer mask and even just brush away some of the extra light here. It's really just around the window. You see here, those edges just kind of a little bit more reinforced. Call it a light blur. Then we've got a backup there if we want to change the effect. Oh, yeah. Looking pretty solid. Well done, Dan. Very good. With the shadow as well, actually. Window shadow, we could add another layer mask. And we could soften the shadow as you get a bit further away. So just a little brush over. Just so it's a little bit more pronounced at the top and slightly softer at the bottom. Right. Oh, what else? What else? Maybe some more particles, I think. Let's get some red ones in there. By the way, please do let me know if this is helpful. If this is helpful, good, bad, terrible, whatever. If you want more of this stuff, we can do that. Dust. Let's add some little red ones in there as well, just around the window light. There we go. Nice. Particles 3. Good. Excellent. Right, at the very top as well. Something I love doing with my work is I add a camera raw filter at the end, and I use texture, clarity, and sharpening to add an effect to it. You can do this in Affinity, but it's better because you don't need a smart object, which I love. You can just add a clarity and unsharp mask, and they're live filters, so you can just stick them at the top, and they are part of your layers. So you can boost the clarity. Crap. Where is it? Where have I put it? Is it there? Oh, crap. I've added it to the... Hang on. Sorry. You want that as its own layer. So there's your clarity boost. Probably a bit too much there, Dan. Let's narrow it down a bit. And then we need another one. Unsharp mask. You can add a little bit of sharpening. Now we can crank this up. And it can look awful. But just a little bit of sharpening sometimes can make a world of difference. So without and with. So if we turn both of those off, there's the before and there's the after. Before, after. And sometimes it can just help bring a little bit of the detail out. Right, something else I'm going to do is I'm going to punch up that haunted house because it needs to be punchier. That's the main light source and it isn't punchy enough. So we'll go curves. We'll drag it in here. We're going to do something like this. A little S curve can be a good way to make the contrast higher. So we darken the darker parts and we just boost the highlights. You get this S curve here. That little S is a great way to just add a bit more contrast. So if we turn it off and back on, and obviously as you do this, use your exposure checker just to make sure you've not buggered anything up. Yeah, I think that's looking pretty cool. Gradient map as well. I think I'm just going to change this, maybe make it slightly more pinky. And cool, we've got quite a few layers now, haven't we? Where's my main room? Oh my goodness, so many layers. Where's the room folder? So here, room, that's the one I want. There's a curves layer that darkens everything and I've lost it. Is it this one? Oh, that looks kind of cool. Wow. That is delicious. So we could even add a mask to, or is it the exposure one? Lighting. Ah, yeah, there we go. Ah, that looks pretty good as well, actually. Oh, so what we could do, and this is just part of the process, we can go back in here and we can play around with this. You know, all of this is fully live and adjustable, so that is a very important part of the process, is you might get to the end and then you just go through and just rebalance everything, tweak the levels, turn this down. You see there, just dropping it down 25%. Lets a little bit more of the rest of the image show. Or what we could do, which is a bit better, is keep the bottom part dark, because those vines look a bit crap. And we will just bring a bit more of this back in. We're just brushing in here. Are we brushing in here? Hopefully we are. Let me just see if I'm actually doing anything. Brush tool. No, I don't feel like I'm doing anything. Why is nothing happening? Okay, maybe that layer behaves slightly differently. So I added a layer mask. No, it's doing some weird thing. Okay, I don't understand what's happening. So I'm just going to drop that down to 75. So it applies it everywhere, but it just kind of lightens the whole room a bit and lets a bit more of that light in. And yeah, we've got the sharpening on top. I think something else that's really cool as well, and this is another glow effect, is we can add a new fill layer. We're going to go for the same sort of pinkish red color. I love this technique. It's just such a... I've got a video on the main Dansky channel showing this. Right. Brush tool. Oh, that's why it wouldn't work. Sorry, I was being an idiot. I had my bloody dust brushes selected. See, it's always me. I'm the problem. It's never Affinity. Damn it. Oh. Yeah, all right, watch this. So I'm going to do this very aggressively and wrong, first of all, to show you, but you can brush in like atmosphere and fog. So if we drop the flow value down really low, we can just gradually build this up. We can just brush in kind of all around the room, really. Just this lovely glow. And you can use it to add just atmosphere, like volumetric atmosphere, effectively. So call it volumetric lighting if you want. You can do it randomly as well. And it could just add some density to the atmosphere. And we're going to do it again as well, actually, for the windows. So let's try again. We'll do it a bit too much, and then we'll drop the opacity at the end. So we could try and run these down here. Nice glow. There we go. Oh, there we glow. So if I turn it off and on, window, we'll just call it spill lighting, whatever. It's like kind of spilling around the sides of the frame. Yeah, so that's a bit too much. So let's just get rid of those little bits sticking out. And then just dial it down a bit. So it's still there. Turn it off and on. It just adds a bit of light sort of blasting through the window. And honestly, that is pretty much it. Now, the only thing that I would do here that I'm not going to just sit and do on stream is I would spend another hour or two working on this, rebalancing, refining, adjusting, maybe work on... Actually, there is something I could do to make those vines look awful. That's the only thing I don't like is the vines. They look awful. But refining the whole thing and going over it and just, oh yeah, that has a light source there, so I need to add a highlight here, and this looks too rubbish, so I need to tweak that. That sort of tweaking process is super important. The brushes I use are from Envato. So these are all the defaults that come with Affinity. These are all Envato. Brush Easy's got some free ones, but I do recommend checking Envato out if you're gonna. Brushes for this sort of work are like a secret weapon. Yeah, you could do an emboss. I think what I'm gonna do, I don't want to go through and if I had some like normal vines with color, I'd go and shade them with shadows and highlights. But I think actually I'm gonna try and be a bit cheeky. So there's my floor vines. Let's see if this will work. Let's put it under. Make sure I've got the right tool selected. Yes, I think this will work. So instead of working on the vines and shading the vines, I'm just going to add shadows that would be cast from the vines. So around the edges. So here. So obviously these vines are having shadows cast. And I think if I just do this and try not to make it too terrible, I should be able to make this look pretty decent, hopefully. Or not, we'll see. If it's not, you can laugh at me. I always brush in my shadows manually, as Raquel knows. The results are you can use, and I never use drop shadow for like brushing stuff. Like I know I did it earlier, unless you can get away with it. Just brushing manually like this is just so much better a lot of the time. And I'm doing this pretty quickly and lazily. Yeah, so even here, you see what I did there by mistake? Totally accidentally, but I'm going to refine it now. Is just adding that shadow slightly kind of underneath and removing the top. It makes it look like the branch arcs. So even though the whole thing's flat and it looks a bit rubbish, just by adding shadows in clever ways, and I can try and make things look, even here, you see, like, look at the difference. Flat image, but now it makes the whole thing look like it has some density and depth, and it cuts off really bad here, so I didn't even notice that. Hold on, Dan. So maybe this one, we could do the same thing. Oops. Yeah, let's just brush in some shadows there, as if it's almost like lifting off. Could do the same for this one. Let's add the shadow underneath. You see, it kind of makes it look like it's lifted off the floor. And if we then just erase a tool, I'm being a bit cavalier here, but I feel pretty confident with this now. Yeah. And then lots of darkness around here. Yeah, shadows, shadows, shadows. Fill that in as well. God, what a difference. What a difference that makes. Look at that. And that's just doing it quickly as well. Obviously, you can spend longer making it look less terrible. Right, I'll call that vines shadow. I got to actually extend the vines now, because they look cut off. So let's fix that. Another really good rule of thumb, actually, if you're cutting stuff out with harder edges, 80 to 95% is where you want. If you're shading, 0% or a low percentage. For shading, because you want like a soft feathered shading a lot of the time, especially for shadows and highlights. Unless it's like hard edge highlights like the windowsill, then bring it up. So that brush hardness is super important. So because I'm going to cut something out with the paintbrush tool, I'm going to go for like 90%. And why is my brush in the wrong place? Nobody knows. There we go. So if your brush ends up in the wrong place, just, I don't know, restart Affinity or add another layer mask and it seems to have sorted itself out. I think it's lagging a bit now. It's probably because my computer's heating up and it's recording the stream at the same time. So I've got my screen recording software going as well. So it's probably my computer struggling more than Affinity. Affinity's been flipping snappy so far, which is nice. All right, let's just roughen that edge and try and make this look believable. Ain't no one looking in this corner anyway. There we go. Nice. Just fudge that really quickly. Yeah, that makes it a lot better. And then if you want to, you can just drop the shadows down a tiny bit. Just a pinch. It's a 14-inch MacBook Pro M2, the one with the 19-core GPU from a few years ago. 22, 23? One of those? That's a good point, yeah. Path brush can be turned to vines if used correctly. Don't get me started on the path brushes. I'll never stop mucking around. But yeah, they've got some good leaf ones as well. Have they got a vine one? I hope they haven't, because otherwise I might get a bit carried away. Let's have a look. Image brushes. Oh no, I think they have got a fine one. What about hot dog? We could put like a giant hot dog in the room. Vines. Not the sort of entangled vines I was thinking of, but... Oh, crack. Oh no. This is what I was looking for. Oh my god. Oh no. Am I going to have to rework on this now? This is cool. If I thicken it up as well. Holy shizzle-manizzle. Wow. Oh, I wish I had thought of that before. How do I end it, though? Like, I wish I could end it with the tentacle. Just one. That's cool. Maybe if we...
Sausage things.
Hey?
Paul put sausage things.
Sausage
Like
things.
Stranger Things, but sausage things.
I like it. Very good. That can be a spin-off. Should we pitch it? We'll pitch it and see what they think.
Okay.
Sausage thing.
Brothers.
Yeah. Sausage things. What do you reckon? Oh, wow. Okay, this could be a lot of fun. Yeah, it would need a bit of work. I mean, hang on. If I just... Oh... Let's just... That does look really good, actually. Damn. Tentacle brush. Okay, let's duplicate it. Just in case I screw it up, we will try and do a... Is it a perspective? Is that the same thing? Yeah. Let's see if we can... What am I doing here? I don't really know. Making it look awful, apparently. Maybe we could just have some real tentacles in the corner. What the flipping hell have I done to it? Why is it like vibrating and looking awful? Okay, let's... I'm glad we had a backup. Oh, that looks slimy and delicious. Not in the like eating sense, but it looks so perfect. It even fits the color theme. Maybe we'll move it down there, and maybe we'll do a bit of shadows on it. So we'll do exposure. We'll drag this on. We'll drop it down, super dark. Add a layer mask to that. And then with 0% opacity, we're going to use, just make sure I've got the right tool selected and the right brush. There we go. I'm going to brush in some shadows. Yeah, there we go. This is going to really help. This is kind of what you can do in step 4 as well. So remember step 4 from earlier? This is part of, this can be part of that process, but it was slightly different for this particular design. Again, don't rush this like I'm doing. I'm being very cavalier. This is a lot harder with a brush, with a mouse, sorry, than a pen display. But if we bring it up a bit, just make it too dark, and then what you do is dial it back. So let's see if I turn this off and on. So the light's coming from up here, so it's affecting this. And then we could probably apply a curves to the entire thing. Let's bring this down. So we want to make it, yeah, just darker. I mean, I don't know, actually. It doesn't really match the perspective, and I like it, and I could probably make it work, and we could have more tentacles coming in, but it's just going to need like a lot more work. But yeah, I think I probably could make it look really cool. Tentacle. We probably would need to recolor it as well, because it's kind of in the sort of background area. It's tricky. We need it to kind of sit quite sort of dark and out the way, like everything else in the room. But also we have the light in here to consider as well. So we kind of need to drag this under all the glow effects. We've got loads of lighting effects, and at the minute it's on top of everything. Yeah, there you go. I should have done that earlier. My bad. And then the recolor one, if we add a mask to that, we could probably try and... Yeah, oh, there you go. That looks kind of cool, actually. So the light is kind of hitting these like little bits. Oh, I love this live preview with the brushes. Oh man, I'm definitely going to have to play around with this one. whoever suggested the brushes, image brushes, I wasn't going to do that, but it does look kind of cool. Let's just throw it on the side, see how it looks. The thing is as well, you could draw those tentacles. You can actually draw them. So I could go and change all of this now. It's probably going to screw everything up, but we could like shrink them down by changing the stroke weight. Have some smaller ones on the wall there. Oh, it's just the perspective. I want to change the perspective. Let's rasterize. It just went a bit weird before when I changed the perspective. Where is it? Perspective tool. It does look kind of cool. And then we'll duplicate. And we will flip it. And then we need to try and make it not look totally symmetrical. So we'll try and distort it a little bit. You probably want to do these separately so you don't have just total symmetry because it will look too perfect and a bit weird. Yeah, I think it, yeah, look, it's like broken. I think I've broken the effect. So if you muck around with it too much, I think that effect does seem to break a little bit, but yeah, I don't know. I think it needs a bit more playing. Yeah. So we'll leave it off for now. But yeah, that is pretty much our final design. Sorry, I got a bit carried away with the tentacle ones. But that is the process. Like a lot of what we've covered in this stream, this is the stuff that I use on some of my favorite bits of work. And I mean, I may as well open the other one now if I just kind of do a here's one I made earlier. So you can see the difference. The only difference is time, just spending more time. So this one is a bit darker and a bit moodier. This one's a bit lighter. So it's just kind of, all it is just rebalancing. That is quite dark and moody, actually. But yeah, so what I would probably do here is I would go back through and just look at a lot of this and go, oh yeah, actually, some of these glow effects are probably just a little bit too pronounced. So maybe I would dial all of these back a little bit. Just bring them down a pinch. Then we've got the volumetric lighting. That's quite overpowering, actually. So let's just pull that back. And it's just this process of going back through everything and adjusting levels and shadows and highlights and just all sorts of bits and bobs. So like, where's my windowsill highlights? Where did I put them? I thought I named them so I could find them easy, and I can't see them anywhere. Are they in here? Windowsill highlights. There we go. So these ones, just adjust the blending mode, and then I'm probably just going to bring it down a bit. Yeah, just so it's all a bit more subtle. And that's the most important part of the process. It's like you've got all the components, you've got your concept, your idea, creative direction, all that stuff. Now it's just refine, refine, refine. Just keep tweaking, keep adjusting. Step away from it, have a cup of tea, maybe a sleep or whatever. And then you'll come back to it and go, oh yeah, hang on a second. There's a light there and that would be casting a shadow here, or oh, that needs a highlight because it doesn't make sense, or the shadow looks wrong. You'll just come back after a break and with a fresh set of eyes, and you'll see things that you didn't see before. I never normally like finally say, hey, this bit of work is done until I've spent like at least a day or two on it. Because when you step away from it and come back, you'll see things that you didn't see before. So, oh, goodness me. How long was all that? What time is it? Oh, 2.5 hours. That's all right. That's not too bad. I thought it would take less time than that, actually, but yeah. Lots and lots of words. But yeah, anyway, hopefully you've enjoyed listening to the sound of my voice for the last 2.5 hours. If you haven't, I'm terribly sorry. There's not a lot I can do about that. It feels a bit too perfect right now. Yeah, I mean, there's loads you could do to it. There's loads. Just sort of tweaking everything and yeah. Oh, you're very welcome. This session was really helpful. Kindly make a video on tips and tricks for portrait image editing. I did a lot of thumbnail stuff earlier on. So for the actual thumbnail for this stream, that was pretty good. A lot of similar techniques actually that we used in this. Oh, sorry. Okay, that was the first. Yeah, I know what you mean. It feels like the tentacles look too perfect plonked in there. I think in reality, you'd want to adjust the lighting, the angle, draw them properly, maybe mask some of them out so you have a few tentacles that just kind of go nowhere and kind of coming up in the air, and then maybe make them dirty and add dust to them and textures so they fit within the scene. Gotcha, Paul. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. Oh, you could have the tentacle coming up the window or wrapping round the window frame. That would be so cool. Oh, no, I want to play with it more. I want to play with the tentacles. That would be so good. Just having the tentacle kind of coming up and you could wrap it around a window frame and mask it out. Oh, for goodness sake. Yeah, I'm gonna stop the screen recording in a minute. I've been recording this, so I might be able to cut all of this into a concise video for the new channel, this channel. If you don't want to sit through that whole 2.5 hours again to learn how to do this, I'll see if I can cut it into something shorter, like a quick refresher video. Hey, Paul. Right, any questions before I jump off? And was this helpful? And is there anything else you want to cover in Affinity? So I think we're going to do one Adobe stream at the moment and one Affinity stream on this channel every week. So the Adobe ones will be on the main Dansky channel. And yeah, the Affinity ones will be here, of course. Affinity. Da, 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 da. Oh, also, it's slightly unrelated, but pinned at the top of the chat is a logo design process cheat sheet. So if you do want that, I made it the other day on stream. It's literally the entire logo design process that I use start to finish when I'm working with clients. So it's completely free. So if you do want to download that, name and email, stick it in there and download it and enjoy. Cherish it. Frame it. Love it. Actually, that would be quite cool to frame it. It's like a nice infographic thing. Oh, whoa. Cool. Right, I think we'll leave it there. Amazing. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me here on the new channel. Hopefully you've enjoyed this and found it useful. Yes, that is a good point. Yes, sorry, Pixel, what I think I am going to do one of those cheat sheets for photo manipulation, because the process that I use to make artwork like this is pretty similar every single time. Like at least the beginning, the fundamental stuff that I covered in this video. Maybe I'll mark that beginning process with a big red box and say do this. But yes, I'm going to definitely do one of those because I think it will help a lot of people with this sort of stuff. And it's fun creating this kind of work. Anyway, have an amazing evening. And I'll see you... When is it? What is it? Thursday. If I don't... Thursday. It's Thursday. Top of the morning to you, Kerry. Yes. Yeah, if I don't see you before, I will see you next week. Have a cracking weekend, you lovely legends.
Put your Christmas trees up.
Don't put your Christmas. Don't listen to her. She's put
ours up.
She's put ours up. I'm innocent. I would not put the Christmas tree up in November, but then Poppy is more fun than me. So, you know, yeah. I'm a little bit of a Scrooge. Just a little bit.
Jingle bell, jingle bell,
Jingle bell rock. Anyway, we're going. See you later. Bye.